The series begins by introducing the magical girls Magenta, Azure, and Sulfur as they fight against a monster. Then we meet our protagonist, Utena, who is a huge fan of theirs. While she's talking about how much she would love to become like them, a mascot named Venolita appears behind her and tells her that he can make her transform. However, she notices that her costume is very different from theirs. In fact, he tells her that she would be evil, an enemy of the magical girls. So Utena politely tells him she's not interested and walks away. The next day, he keeps following her and says that he has been watching her for a long time. He explains that her obsession with the magical girls could be very useful for the evil organization. He also tells her that the magical girls exist thanks to them, because without enemies to fight, they wouldn't exist. Then he forces her to transform, threatening that if she doesn't join him, he will post a video of her transformation on Twitter. At that moment, the magical girls arrive. She asks them for help, but strangely, they don't believe her and attack her instead. Venolita then gives her a whip and tells her to strike a flower, which transforms into a monster straight out of an adult fantasy scenario. Forced by Venolita to continue, she whipped them on the butt. And this goes on until evening. She later wakes up thinking it was all a dream, but upon hearing his voice, she realizes that the events were real, which leaves her deeply unsettled. We then discover that the magical girls attend the same class as her, and everyone is still dealing with the aftermath of the previous day. Meanwhile, the magical girls sense new monsters and go to fight them. Soon after, she receives messages from Venolita telling her to come to him, and she goes once again. He coerces her, this time by threatening her with another video, into striking some mannequins. She does it, and the mannequins come to life and attack the magical girls. Watching the scene, she finally decides to join in and takes part in the fight for a while. Eventually, Azure manages to break free, and Utena escapes, returning home feeling strangely happy. The next day, Utena keeps getting distracted at school while thinking about the magical girls, and she is reprimanded several times by her teachers. After classes, she goes to pray in order to stop doing bad things to the magical girls. Meanwhile, Azure, not yet transformed, is cleaning. When Utena finishes praying, she finds a trail of strange magazines and, of course, immediately starts reading them. In reality, all of this was part of Venolita's plan. Utena becomes so excited that she transforms. Azure, sensing that there is a villain, attacks her, and Utena, while fleeing, decides to strike a mask to blind Azure and escape. However, she reconsiders and starts doing things that cannot be said or shown to Azure. Afterwards, she tells her that next time it will be even more fun. Shortly after Azure returns to normal, the other magical girls arrive to help her. Later, Venolita tells Utena that she needs to find a villain name. Although reluctant, since the name Venolita chose was terrible, she decides to pick one herself. Meanwhile, the magical girls are talking about the new villain, who is very powerful, and they say that what happened to Azure could happen again. However, it doesn't seem like she disliked it. In fact, she is already looking forward to facing her again. That evening, Venolita tells Utena to transform, as she senses the presence of a magical girl. They go to a cemetery, where they find Sulfur. Utena decides to attack her by surprise with a wax monster, and to make things worse, also summons a flower monster. After a while, however, the two monsters explode, and Sulfur appears with very powerful arms and attacks Utena, who turns out to be a wax statue. Then Utena surrounds Sulfur with many other wax statues. Sulfur asks for her name, and Utena replies, Major Bisa, before running away and starting to laugh maniacally, while a girl watches her. The next day, when her mother leaves the house, Venolita tells Utena that she has to take her somewhere, the base of the Enormida organization, since she has now officially become a member. Venolita explains that the older members are away and that she will introduce them another time. Utena immediately wants to leave. But then the girl from the previous day appears, she says her name is Kiwi and asks Utena to be friends with her. But in reality, she has another plan. In fact, she hands Utena a grenade. But Utena manages to transform and avoid the explosion. Kiwi tells her that she saw her fighting and that she was defeated and that she laughed like an idiot. After saying that, she transforms. And obviously I can't show the transformation for obvious reasons. Then she starts attacking her, Utena manages to defend herself for a while. But she gets thrown against a wall. Kiwi sits on top of her and asks why. She fights against the magical girls, repeating over and over, why? This brings out Utena's crazy side by striking a light bulb. She manages to trap Kiwi and tells her that she doesn't actually want to fight them. But they are so cute that they make her want to make them suffer. Then she shocks Kiwi several times before telling her that she is now the cutest girl in the world and that they will meet again soon. The next day, Kiwi jumps on her, knocking her to the ground, and tells her that she transferred schools and that they will now be class mates. I would once again like to remind you that what happened before literally happened yesterday. Then, during the weekend, the two of them go out together. And since Utena gets embarrassed when eating with other people, Kiwi feeds her herself. Later, Utena asks her why she joined Enormita. So Kiwi tells a sad story. Basically, one day she was taking a picture to post on Twitter, but while scrolling, she noticed that the magical girls were getting more attention than her, and she got angry. Sensing her anger, Venolita approached her and asked her to join, and without thinking twice she accepted. Later, Kiwi decided to transform she and Utena to take a picture, and of course the magical girls immediately arrive. However, Kiwi says that they still haven't done anything yet, so they shouldn't be attacked, but then Sulfur calls her a coward, something that makes her extremely angry. And so they start fighting. Utena is left alone with Azure, and since she keeps thinking about what she could do to her, she calmly allows herself to be captured. Utena was about to leave, but then she saw two big and beautiful reasons to stay. Seeing Kiwi in trouble, Utena took out her action figure and hit it so that it would get in the way and then explode, allowing both her and Kiwi to escape. After escaping, Kiwi tells Utena that she loves her and that they should go to a love motel, then she says she was joking about the love motel and tells her to get some rest, except the place they were in actually was a love motel. A few days later, Kiwi asks Utena if they could go eat sushi, but she says she has to go straight home because, after doing very badly on her last test, her mother told her that if she failed the makeup exam, she would throw away her entire magical girl collection. However, while heading home, she sees Magenta in a park with signs inviting her to fight. As she tries to continue home, Venolita tells her to battle, but Utena says she has to study for the makeup exam since she could not study properly because of all the fights. Venolita, however, says that the real problem is that she spends all her time reading adult magazines, and that if she refuses to fight, Venolita will show them to her mother. Because of that, Utena finally decides to fight. She goes to confront Magenta and, thanks to a pair of scissors, manages to leave her completely naked. After that, she leaves because Magenta is far too embarrassed to continue fighting. Back at home, Utena cannot stop thinking about Magenta, and just before she manages to grab the magazine, Venolita arrives and says that a magical girl has appeared nearby. Utena insists that she has to study, but Venolita says she will probably just spend all her time reading adult magazines anyway. Because of that, Utena decides to fight Magenta once again. This time, however, Magenta has covered her embarrassing parts with stickers. Sorry, it was perfect. Magenta is still extremely embarrassed. During the clash, a huge explosion occurs, and Utena emerges victorious. Later that evening, Magenta wakes up and asks if they actually want to kill them, since they always run away halfway through the fight. The next day, Kiwi tells her that she managed to score 100 on everything. Utena then begs her to help her study, and she ends up passing the exam. A few days later, she feels sad because she always eats alone, But when someone asks if she would like to eat together with them, Kiwi suddenly appears, hugs Utena, and says that they should eat their cat food alone. After school, the magical girls are working as models. And for the first time we see Vats. Sulfur asks why they are working as models, and Vats explains that having a strong media presence should help them defeat Enormida. Vats also says that the place was surrounded by a barrier, and anyone can sense their presence. However, someone suddenly arrives and asks whether the object there belonged to them. This allows their enemies to locate and attack them. Kiwi and Utena try to attack using several grenades, but Sulfur creates a barrier that protects everyone. Sulfur asks if she can use her strongest form, but Vat says it would look bad for the sponsors. However, the many explosions create enough smoke to let her use that form without being seen. And so the real battle begins. It ends with the magical girls completely exhausted, but Sulfur is happy because she finally had a real battle. Then we see a little girl named Korosu in an alley, who accidentally ends up meeting Venelita. The next day, Kiwi and Utena receive a message from him saying that he has something important to tell them. When the two arrive at the base, they meet Korosu. At first, Utena believes that Venelita kidnapped the girl, but he tells her that he is not that evil. In fact, when he met her the previous day, he asked if she wanted to join the group, and she accepted. However, Utena says that she could get hurt, but he does not care, so he transforms her. Later, the magical girls encounter a walking doll, and by following it they discover the unthinkable. It is a trap. They are then chased by a horde of toys and manage to hide. However, Magenta behaves like a man, while Sulfur acts like a child. After a long time of the two wanting to drink milk directly from the source, everything finally ends because Korosu falls asleep. Then we see a flashback in which her mother gives her a doll for her birthday. Returning to the present, we see Kiwi and Utena watching Korosu go back home, and they ask if they can come to her house. Inside, they notice that her mother is not there, so they go to her room. There, Kiwi tries to take a doll from a glass display case, but Korosu stops her because it is very important to her. Utena notices that the doll is badly damaged and says that she could try to fix it. Korosu accepts, so Utena spends the whole night repairing the doll, but she ends up getting sick. Seeing her ill, Korosu transforms and takes Utena to a fake hospital where she acts as the nurse. After some strange treatments, Utena feels better. The next day, they tell everything to Kiwi, and she immediately comes up with a wonderful idea and tells it to Korosu. However, instead of satisfying her, Korosu throws her into a prison. A few days later, we see Korosu going to the playground where Magenta, not yet transformed, is playing with some children. Seeing her alone, Magenta decides to play with her for a while to keep her company. Then there's a cut and we see them fighting against the magical girls, and as always everything is not censored. After the battle, Sulfur and Azure arguing, but Magenta interrupts them. Sulfur comments that she is acting like their mother and Magenta ends up liking the idea. The next day she prepares lunch for them and talks about a new strategy, although she cannot remember it well. That afternoon she goes back to playing with Korosu and later buys ingredients for the lunch she wants to prepare for her friends the next day. While shopping, she suddenly feels the urge to pee, but at that moment, Korosu transforms, forcing her to transform too. Back at the playground, Korosu uses a doll to force Magenta into a dollhouse where Magenta becomes the child and Korosu the mother. Meanwhile, Sulfur, still untransformed, eats a takoyaki without octopus while remembering the first time she met them. Magenta bumped into her and later managed to become friends with her. At the same time, Korosu and Magenta keep playing together, but Magenta accidentally wets herself and takes it badly. She then remembers when a monster attacked Sulfur before she became a magical girl. Before Azure and Magenta could react, Sulfur had already defeated the monster with a brick. After that, they asked her to become a magical girl, and thanks to this memory, Magenta returns to normal. However, seeing that Korosu is sad because they cannot play anymore, Magenta decides to pretend to still be a child, and Korosu continues with a creepy smile. Meanwhile, Sulfur remembers how she once refused to become a magical girl, but Magenta convinced her and changed her life. Soon after, Sulfur and Azure sense a villain nearby. At the same time, Magenta wets herself again and, while Korosu is changing her, the dollhouse disappears. Korosu goes home tired. Shortly after, the two magical girls arrive to save Magenta, and they saw that Magenta had a very tough battle at the end. Once back to normal, she says she will prepare the lunch once again. But Sulfur didn't like the idea. We then see a flashback showing what created Utena's love for magical girls. Returning to the present, even though we are already at the 7th episode, Utena explains who the magical girls are. After talking about Azure, we see that she has now become extremely easy to capture. And when Sulfur asks her why, she is unable to answer. Afterward, the three villains go to a cafe. Utena wants to invite Kiwi somewhere, but she says that she is on vacation with her family. That evening, Azure tells Vats about the problem, and in order to help her, she explains how she became a magical girl. Basically, after seeing a little girl being attacked by a monster, she decided to let herself be attacked in the child's place. Fortunately, before the monster could attack her, Magenta arrived and saved her. Seeing her courage, Magenta asked her to join them and then return to normal, revealing that she was her classmate. Vats then tells her that it is just a bad phase and that she should take a break from fighting for a while. Then we see Utena again and we discover what was on the flyer, a poster for a magical girls exhibition. Seeing Azure on the poster, she becomes worried, thinking that she may have gone too far. The next day, Azure goes downtown, where she meets Utena and helps her avoid losing her place in line. However, after seeing what the exhibition is about, she decides to go inside. She discovers that before them there had been many other magical girls. But unlike Utena, she does not enjoy the exhibition very much. In fact, when she watches a movie being shown there, she feels very annoyed, believing it to be far too unrealistic, unlike Utena, who does not care at all and absolutely loves the film. That evening, Azure transforms, without telling anyone, and goes to a park to fight the villains alone. However, only Utena shows up, since Korosu is sleeping at that hour and Kiwi is already on vacation. The battle begins, and Azure initially she destroys a few monsters and even manages to trap Utena in ice. However, it turns out not to be the real Utena, who catches her by surprise by transforming a panda into a monster. The monster then starts doing things to her that I cannot describe, so much so that Azure's heart begins to crack. Once the monster returns to normal, Azure grabs Utena's leg. Utena is happy at first because she believes Azure wants to continue fighting. But when she realizes that Azure is calling her master, caressing her, and even trying to kiss her shoes, she becomes so angry that she immediately pulls her leg away. She then grabs her and tells her that such behavior is intolerable before flying away, leaving Azure half-naked and extremely aroused. Meanwhile, as Utena reflects on the battle, Venolita appears and tells her that she is in no position whatsoever to lecture anyone. The scene then cuts to Venolita, showing footage of battles against magical girls to a group of villains who have killed dozens of magical girls. Then we see Venolita that say he has to take them somewhere, but first they need to transform. Meanwhile, the magical girls are at a cafe, and Azure says that she fought against Major Beza alone. When they ask her what happened, she gets embarrassed, but then says that she realized she is not strong enough and needs to train. At the headquarters of Enormita, we are introduced to the characters seen earlier: Loco Musica, Leberbloom, Sister Gigant, and Lord Norm. Lord Enorm say that they were absent because they had been hunting various magical girls. After that she called them pathetic. Kiwi tries to respond, but she calls her starless, so should stay quiet. Then she tells Utena that she seems more interested in trying to sodomize the magical girls than actually defeating them. Venolita says that they should train in order to increase their strength, but Lord Enorm says they are already strong enough, before revealing that they have decided to conquer the world on their own. However, Utena says she is not interested, and the other two say the same. After hearing this, Lord Enorm tells Sister Gigant to kill them. Korosu takes out a dollhouse and traps her inside together with Kiwi and Utena, who try to attack her. However, she grows so large that she destroys the dollhouse and then tries to kill them using her two huge assets. Utena tells Kiwi to use the grenades, and after the explosion, the three girls disappear. Outside the base, we see a wounded Utena, because protected Kiwi from the explosion, saying that she will kill them. Meanwhile, Loco Musica says that she will be the one to kill them. Then we see Utena being treated in a hospital created by Korosu. After the other two leave, Utena tells Venalita that, knowing they would betray them, she made them transform in order to prevent them from discovering their identities. However, she is mad, especially about the magical girl hunt, since she knew nothing about it. Meanwhile, we see Azure training with Sulfur in a distant place. Later, we see Kiwi and Korosu talking about what gift they could give to Utena. But Loco Musica suddenly appears, and Kiwi wastes no time attacking her. Loco Musica calls her starless and explains that stars measure their power level. For example, she herself has 3 stars. After that, she attacks using her voice. And just before she can hit Kiwi, Korosu saves her. Kiwi then asks why she became a villain, and she replies that she wants to become the greatest idol in the world. And before killing them both, she will sing a song created by herself. After this great performance, Kiwi harshly criticizes Loco's song to the point of making her cry, causing her powers to go out of control. Kiwi then tells Korosu to throw some stuffed dolls, which are actually light bombs, in order to distract her and escape. After seeing the failure of her mission, Lord Enorm decides to punish Loco in a way that I cannot say it while Velanita is watching them. During the battle, Vat sees Loco Musica and Kiwi fighting, but Sulfur says there is no need to intervene and that they should just let them kill each other. Then Sulfur tells Azure that she should have a weapon, since both Magenta and Sulfur have one, while Azure simply uses ice as a sword. According to Sulfur, if they all had proper weapons, they would be stronger. Meanwhile, back at the base, Lebebloom treats Loco's injuries. Loco insists that she will become a famous idol, to the point that she has already made merchandise for herself, but Lebebloom does not believe her at all. Wanting revenge, Loco asks Lebebloom to come with her. Later, we see that Utena has recovered from her injuries. She says that the others have crossed the line and must be eliminated. Venalita then tells her that she has located Lebebloom and Loco. When the 3 girls arrive, they find Loco performing a concert in front of a huge crowd. However, Kiwi says it is impossible for Loco to have fans because she is terrible. Utena replies that she probably is not that bad. But as soon as she hears the opening lines of Loco's song, she changes her mind, tired of listening. Kiwi decides to throw a grenade, causing everyone in the audience to run away. At the start of the battle, Utena thinks about gagging Loco to stop her from singing. But Lebebloom immobilizes her so that Loco can attack. Utena manages to free herself with a pair of scissors, but then Kiwi suddenly attacks her. Lebebloom explains that her power allows her to control shadows, which is how she managed to control Kiwi. Since Utena and Kiwi are trapped, Loco attacks them. After getting back on their feet, Kiwi and Utena hide behind a tree with Korosu to avoid Loco's attacks. However, thanks to her shadow powers, Lebebloom is still able to strike them. Utena then decides to use Kiwi as bait and employs the light bombs technique to trap Lebebloom inside the dollhouse. Before Loco can attack, Utena warns her that if she does, she will crush the box. To prevent that from happening, Loco is forced to strip, and after she does, Utena tells her that she must sing. When Loco refuses, Utena reveals that all of her fans had actually been controlled by Lebebloom. This makes Loco remember how not even her own mother believed that she could become an idol. Determined to prove herself, she decides to sing. After her performance, everyone genuinely applauds her because she has put on a wonderful show. Afterward, the group forces Lebebloom and Loco to return to their normal forms and reveal their real names, Nemo Anemo and Makoya. The two do not want to return to the base because they are afraid of being punished. So Madama declares that both of them will join the group instead. After a flashback showing how Nemo and Madama became friends in kindergarten, the flashback also reveals that Nemo has always been brutally honest with Madama, even telling her directly that her singing was terrible. In the present, Madama proudly tells Utena that she and Nemo have greatly contributed to the hunt for magical girls. Utena orders them to transform and locks them inside one of Korisu's dollhouses, personally soundproofing it. She says they will not be released until they satisfy her demands. Meanwhile, Kiwi is assembling a model kit when Venolita appears. Venolita points out that the team is held back by Kiwi's weakness and tells her she must discover her proper role within the group. Inside the dollhouse, Utena decides the first step is fixing Nemo and Madama's friendship. This quickly turns into an argument. Madama admits she felt humiliated after learning Nemo used mind control to force people to attend her concerts. Nemo, however, sees nothing wrong with it. The conflict escalates when Utena say that now she can sing well, and then Madama says she no longer needs Nemo. Nemo breaks down in tears and reveals how much she has always cared for her. She says she supported Madama's dreams and became Lebebloom because Madama wanted to become Loco Musica. She also argues that Madama would have cried if no one had come to his concerts. Realizing this, Madama apologizes and Nemo stops crying. Utena then forces them to kiss, then decides it is not enough and pushes them further in a scene that I can't show. After that, Nemo and Madama are exhausted while Utena looks satisfied. Elsewhere, Sister Gigante reports their betrayal to Enormita, but Lord Enorm is unconcerned and announces the invasion. Soon after, monsters appear and the girls transform to fight them. During battle, out of town, Azure remains weak despite training. Nemo and Madama arrive to help, but learn the monsters regenerate endlessly. Venolita explains the only way to stop them is to defeat Lord Enorm. The monsters merge into a giant that absorbs the girls. Sister Gigante arrives to finish them off, but Kiwi frees everyone with her weapons. She tells Utena to go after Lord Enorm while the others hold the line, receiving a promise of a future love hotel date in return. Kiwi stays to face Sister Gigante alone. Her attacks barely work while Gigante overwhelms her. Confident, Gigante says a starless girl cannot win. Kiwi then reveals she actually has 3 stars and activates a powerful new transformation. Meanwhile, Utena reaches the Enormita base, ready for the final confrontation with Lord Enorm. Having arrived at the base, Utena is about to attack Lord Enorm. However, Lord Enorm has already created monsters to defeat her. Meanwhile, we see Kiwi, in her new transformation, successfully dealing heavy damage to Sister Gigante. However, while boasting about her strength, she suddenly starts coughing up blood, as she cannot remain in this form for long. Realizing this, Sister Gigante tells her that if she keeps going, she will die. Kiwi replies that she won't die because she still has to go to a hotel with Utena afterward. Saying this excites her so much that she continues striking the ground around her. At the same time, Utena is trying to seal the monsters inside light bulbs, but Lord Enorm decides to merge them all into a single giant monster. She then traps Utena with her whip, and Utena is about to be devoured. Seeing Kiwi relentlessly attacking the ground, Sister Gigante assumes that Kiwi has become too weak to aim properly and decides to knock her down. However, just before she can crush her, the ground around her collapses and traps her. We then discover that this was all part of Kiwi's plan to defeat her, which is why she had been attacking the ground so much. Now that she has the upper hand, Kiwi decides to gun her down with her weapons. Sister Gigante claims that she surrenders, but Kiwi doesn't believe her and prepares to shoot. Sister Gigante becomes so terrified that she starts crying and repeatedly apologizing. However, when Kiwi pulls the trigger, nothing happens. She reveals that she ran out of bullets quite a while ago. The shock causes Sister Gigante to faint, and both girls revert to their normal forms simultaneously. Shortly afterward, Kiwi also loses consciousness. Meanwhile, Utena remains trapped and unable to move. The others are trying to contain the monsters using Korisu's dollhouse. But after a while, Korisu falls asleep, causing her to return to normal and allowing the monsters to escape. The monsters attack Nemo and Madama, forcing them to revert to their normal forms as well. Before they can be attacked again, the magical girls arrive and save them, driving the monsters away. However, Nemo decides to hide and watch how Magenta and Sulfur fight. The two are about to attack the monster when Azure tells them to leave everything to her. She reveals a new and incredibly powerful transformation that reduces the monster to dust. Meanwhile, Utena is still trapped, and Lord Enorm is delivering the typical villain speech about conquering the world and similar ambitions. The speech is so cliché that it bores Utena. While trying to figure out a way to defeat her, Utena realizes that world conquest is a childish idea, and this gives her an idea. Lord Enorm then says that Utena has joined the side of good. But Utena replies that being a hero is the magical girl's role. And that is exactly why she is Major Beza. Soon afterward, numerous stars appear on her face, and she unlocks a new transformation. She becomes so powerful that she can destroy both Lord Enorm's monsters and her attacks with ease. We then discover that Utena now sees Lord Enorm as a child and tells her that it is time for punishment. In response, Lord Enorm sends a giant monster after her. But Utena takes control of it and says, "Someday, somewhere, someone will drag me to hell. But that day is neither here nor now, and it certainly won't be you." The other girls arrive to help Utena, but they quickly realize that she does not need any assistance. Madama and Nemo ask Venolita, who had been secretly watching, what is happening. He explains that Utena had been struggling because Lord Enorm's character archetype did not appeal to her. Therefore, she subconsciously reimagined her as something that suited her preferences more. A child. To punish Lord Enorm, Utena begins spanking her. The humiliation is so overwhelming that Lord Enorm starts crying. Utena tells her to apologize. But after several more spankings, Lord Enorm finally does so, and Utena ends the punishment. While everyone is celebrating their victory, Lord Enorm escapes and encounters Venolita. He tells her that if she had followed his orders, she could have continued a little longer. He then reveals that her powers actually came from him. Unlike the others, whose mana originates from their natural talent, Lord Enorm's power was granted by Venolita himself. He thanks her for helping make the others stronger. Lord Enorm tries to attack him, but Sister Gigant easily kills her. We then learn that Sister Gigant has been working for Venolita all along, and that everything is proceeding according to his plan. When Venolita later returns to the group, he announces that Lord Enorm is dead and says that, considering the excellent work they have done, they deserve a reward. Kiwi immediately says that she wants to build a hotel near the Enormita base. Finally, Venolita declares that, because Utena has become extraordinarily powerful, she will become the new leader of Enormita. A few days later, while magical girls rebuild the city, Utena holds a meeting at Enormita base. Everyone has important roles in the group, especially Korisu. Put in charge of nap time, Utena is exhausted, and Kiwi quickly tries to comfort her saying that she can touch her boobs. Utena notes how draining it was to see Lord Enorm reduced to a child. She adds that despite Lord Enorm's death, the killed magical girls won't return, making revenge pointless, even though Utena is now the villain's leader. Furthermore, Utena is sad because she hasn't seen the magical girls in a long time. However, Madama cheers her up instantly, announcing that the magical girls are back. She explains they are much stronger, especially Azure. But as Madama explains Azure's new transformation, Utena screams and says that she wants no spoilers. Madama argues it is useful info, not a spoiler, but Utena stopped. Listening, Venolita notes that the magical girls are rebuilding the city. Without hesitation, Utena rushes there, though Venolita reminds her to leave her star. Arriving at the site, Utena helps the golems, feeling guilty about the ruined city. Azure arrives shortly and joins Utena's rebuilding efforts. After a few hours, the two restore the city. Seeing Azure stretching, Utena decides to give her a massage. However, once she starts, she gets so horny that she starts. When When she realizes what she have done, runs away. Though she seems very happy, the next day, Utena calls another meeting. Transformed into Major Beza, she declares that since the magical girls vowed to defeat them, their only response is to tease them a bit, then retreat like true villains. Despite this excellent plan, Nemo and Madama remain unconvinced. Later, Utena and Kiwi visit a toy store with Korosu. There Korosu and Utena bump into Magenta in normal form, with her younger sisters. Kiwi shows up holding Ultraman Tiger Sparklance, but only Magenta's little sisters like it. After Magenta and her sisters leave, they exit the shop. Korosu, holding a toy dinosaur, transforms and turns it into a giant. Utena tells her to stop, noting they just finished rebuilding the city, but Korosu refuses. The magical girls arrive, making Utena truly happy. Right after, Korosu throws the Sparklance at Magenta, turning her giant to fight the dinosaur. To prevent them hurting Korosu, Utena and Kiwi sabotage Magenta with a chaotic distraction. Azure and Sulfur try to help, but the situation becomes more embarrassing for Magenta, causing an energy surge that sends them flying. Meanwhile, Nemo and Madama wonder what happened. Later at sunset, the three are at the park, and Korosu falls asleep with a smile. One day, our protagonists decided to go to the beach. However, Kiwi bought Utena a swimsuit that I absolutely cannot show, although Kiwi really likes it. Utena, however, decided to change into a different swimsuit. At the beach, we meet the magical girls. Since this is the first episode in which they are important, even without transforming, I'll finally mention their names. Even if it's extremely late, Haruka, Sayo, and Kararuko. Haruka notices the girls and invites them to join them, but Kararuko and Kiwi are not very happy about the idea, because they hate each other. In fact, they immediately start arguing and competing with one another. Meanwhile, while everyone is enjoying the beach, Sayo is spending time with Utena. She wants to talk about the massage Utena gave her, but she can't find the right way to bring it up. After a while, she notices Utena's bag and asks if she's a fan. Embarrassed, Utena says it was a magazine-exclusive item. When Sayo says she already knew that, Utena gets excited and asks if she is a fan as well. Sayo answers yes, which leads Utena to explain why she loves each magical girl. After a while, Utena realizes she's gone overboard and stops talking. Sayo says it's fine and asks why she likes them so much. Utena replies that she loves how heroic they are. After some time, Kiwi and Kararuko finish competing. Kiwi asks Haruka where Utena is, and she replies that she went to get some drinks. Meanwhile, just before Utena can place an order, two drunk women cut in front of her. This makes Kiwi so angry that she transforms and threatens them with her weapons. The magical girls immediately sense her presence, and the other three quickly realize it's Kiwi. They head toward the two girls and create a smoke screen so they can arrive without being noticed. To attack the magical girls, Utena uses the octopus that was on Kiwi's head, turning it into a monster. However, it captures everyone except Utena. She then realizes that controlling sentient beings is difficult, but she doesn't really care that much. After a way too long scene involving the octopus, Sayo finally freezes it, freeing everyone. She then prepares to fight Utena and uses her new transformation. Utena immediately launches an attack, but Sayo blocks it easily. Even so, she allows herself to be hit. She then explains that this is love and that she will not break down again. This makes Utena very happy. After some fighting, we discover that Sayo hasn't really changed at all. However, her transformation allows her to hide it. After a combined attack from everyone else, which Sayo doesn't particularly appreciate, she unleashes a strike so powerful that it sends everyone flying. That evening, the girls light fireworks and enjoy themselves while Venolita secretly watches them. Then there's a time skip, and we see the protagonists fighting alongside each other against the magical girls. The end.